Good evening once again. I hope you're all fine. As promised in the previous video, I'll be doing a video to solve some few questions pertaining relevant question, right? All right, so any document that will be used in this video will be sent to the Telegram channel as usual, right? So I will pin the link in the description and also in the comment section. All right, thank you. So you see, as usual, as I said, relevant costing is not difficult. But most often, when you see the question, you will be stuck on what to do because you wouldn't know what to do. That is relevant costing. Yes. So we will be doing some few examples, and I'm sure you'll be able to try out some examples later on. Right. When I get time as well, I'll be solving other examples as well. So you share the screen. All right. So there is a question we have here. A farmer in Ruritania has 240,000 square meter of land on which he grows maize, potatoes, barley, and wheat. He's planning his production for the next growing season. The following information provided relating to the anticipated demand and productive capacity for the next season. Okay, the following information is provided relating to the anticipated demand and productive capacity for the next season. So, for maize, you have the contribution per ton of output in Ruthenian dollars, 160. We have for potatoes, 112. We have for barley, 96. We have for wheat, 80. Then the meter square per ton. So per each ton, what we are going to occupy is 80, right? So 80 meters square per ton of output for maize. For potato is 32. For barley is 24. For wheat is 16. Then estimated sales. The value that we are going to sell, the quantity is 300 throughout, 3,000 throughout for all of them. Required area to meet sales is, so for you to grow 3,000 maize, to meet the demand for the 3,000, you need to get 240,000 square meters for maize, 96,000 for potatoes, 72,000 for barley, and then 48,000 for wheat. It is not possible in the short run to increase the area of land beyond 240,000. Growing the above crops, you have been asked to advise on the mix of crops that should be produced during the period. So look at it. You could see that when we plant only maize right now, right? When we plant only maize right now, what is going to happen is that maize is taking 240 and the total land is for 240. Maize is giving what? A contribution of 160. So we multiply, we are going to get I think let me take the calculator. Come with the margin and so on. So 160 times 300, 3,000. So we are going to get 480,000. That is if only we produce only maize. But do you know that we can produce others and even leave maize and make more money than this? That's why relevant costing is very important. So that's what we are coming to do. So what we are coming to do here is to find the best this thing that is going to help the. So in this question, we will see that we have a limiting factor here. The limiting factor is that they have only 240,000 square meters of land, right? So we would have to find out or derive the mix that when we produce, we are going to make more profits, right? So as I use the example here that when we multiply, when we produce only maize, we are going to uh, use all the land, right? And then our demand is 30,000. So when we multiply the 160 by 30 and reduce the contribution by the demand, we're only going to get 48,000, right? Yeah, 48,000. So we have to find ways and means to get something higher than this, right? So first, you know what we normally do? What we will do is to what? Multiply, sorry, find the contribution per output, right? So we have an output of 80, 32, 24 here, right? So now, all right, so we can say, what is so? So we can say plants. Plants are here, and then we have maize, we have potatoes, we have Baileys, now is barley, and we have wheat. Oh, oh, why is this thing messing up like this? All right, let me just explain the question by the time I'm done. I'm sure this will be okay. All right, so meaning we have to find uh contribution per meter square, right? So we have to divide the contribution by their meter square per this per ton, meter square per ton, meter square per ton, meter square per ton. So we have to divide it. Have to divide all of them. So when we divide, we are now going to get a contribution per meter ton. And the higher the contribution per meter ton, the higher the importance it is. So it becomes more important in that way, right? Let me see whether it is. Okay. What's happening? All right, so now, as I said earlier, we are going to divide them to get their contribution per meter square, right? So now, plants, we have maize, we have potatoes, we have barley, and we have right. So their contribution is 160, 112, 96, and 80. So that's their contribution. And then their uh, meter square per ton is also 80, 32, 24, and 16. So if you want to get the meter square per ton, what we will have to do is to divide them. So contribution per meter square output. Right. Now we are going to get 160 divided by 2 for here. So 160 divided by 80, sorry. We are going to get 2 for this one. Then here too, we are going to get 112 divided by 32. And we are going to get 3.5. Then we also have 96 here divided by 24. And we are going to get 4. Then we also have 80 here divided by 16, and we are going to get 5. So looking at this, what do you think will be the best optimum mix or sales mix? So meaning we have to produce wheat first, barley second, potato third, and then maize fourth, like that, right? So that's what we are going to do. So now, when it comes to plantation, we can produce 3,000 of wheat, right? The reason is because when we produce 3,000 of wheat, it is going to take the land portion of 48,000. So land portion, we can just allocate it. Land portion. All right. 48,000. Remember, keep the 24,000 in your head, right? So when we subtract 48,000 from 24,000, there will still be enough space, right? So we can produce barley as well, 3,000. And what's the land capacity or space for it? 72,000. So 72,000. Now, when we add 72,000 and 48,000, or when we subtract it from 240,000, so 240,000 minus 72,000 minus 48,000. We will still have enough space to produce the next one, right? So we can produce this one 3,000 as well. And this one constitutes 96,000. 96,000 land, right? And when we subtract 96,000, we will still be having 24,000 left for this. for this particular one, right? So now it is our goal to determine how much or how many maize or how much maize can this 24,000 produce on this land, right? So what we are going to do is that we are going to divide the maize distance by it. So what we are going to do is we are going to have 24,000 all over 240,000 times the 3,000 that was here. And the answer will be 300. So meaning that we'll be able to plant 300 of maize so that the land capacity, when we add all of them, we add all of these, then we are going to get 240,000. Right. Okay. Now, we can move on and then calculate our contribution for them. So total contribution. Note that it will be just re-multiplying this 300 by the contribution we have up there, right? So for maize, our contribution is going to be 160 times 300. And we are going to get 48,000. For this one, it's going to be 112 times its distance is going to be 3,000. Right. So let me pull up the calculator instead because okay. So this one is going to be 3,000 because you are going to produce all of them times 112. You are going to get 336,000. Right. Then this one as well. This one as well is going to be 3,000 times its contribution, which is 96. 288,000. Now the next one is going to be 3,000 times its contribution, which is 80. 240,000. Total contribution is going to be re-adding all this, right? And we are going to get 912,000, right? But the question asked us to, no, you have been asked to advise on the mix of crops that should be produced during the period. So the mix of crop that should be produced during the period is this. 3,000 wheat, 3,000 barley, 3,000 potatoes, and then 300 maize. That's the actual distance. All right, so this is it for this question. Let's move on to the next one. So this is the next one. So the first question you have in here is, a travel agency has offered NK Flight Limited 150,000 for a round trip flight service from Ghana to Melbourne on a jumbo jet. NK Flight usually receive 250,000 in revenue from this route. The company has 2 aircraft that are idle and could be used to fly on the proposed Ghana-Melbourne route. The company has no plan to add any other new routes. NK Flight will save 5,000 on reservation and ticketing expenses if the offer is accepted. The following relates to the revenue and cost information of a standard flight service in the proposed route. So this is it. This is the standard normal destiny. Now, I is asking us that we should advise and explain why NK Flight should accept the offer or not. So now, if you really want to understand this, note that NK already have 2 flights that are idle. And since those flights are idle, we said that as far as they will have contribution in the previous session, as far as there is a spare capacity, and the spare capacity will have contribution to the recovery of fixed cost, then we have to what? Accept the offer after considering all qualitative relevant factors, right? So that's what we are going to do here. Let's see whether we are going to get a contribution out of this job. All right. So now, NK Flight. So you see this question, you will just be confused that what should I do? What am I going to do with this? Because the question is just buying. You get it? But relevant costing is not easy. So you pay attention to some few steps, right? So now, since there are 2 spare capacities there, or there is a spare capacity there, then let's think of the revenue that we are going to get, right? In case we accept the offer. So revenue is going to be 150,000. And remember that if we accept this offer, we are going to have a cost savings of what? 5,000. So cost savings. $5,000. And that's what we are having here. They say we are going to have a cost savings here. So we are going to have a cost savings here. And this is the normal 150,000, right? So it will be a cost savings and then it will be added to this thing since it is an idle capacity. Now, when we add these, we are going to get 155,000. Now, variable cost is going to be as the one that we are seeing in here. I are seeing a variable cost here to be 90,000, right? So 90,000 is going to appear here. $90,000. So now when we subtract, we are going to get 65,000 contribution. So what will be our decision? Our decision is to advise management to accept this offer after considering all other qualitative factors, since we are going to get a 65,000 contribution towards the recovery of fixed cost, right? This is it for the first part. Now for the second part, which is II, assume NK Flight as the route. Assuming NK Flight as the route, it will have to cut its least profitable route, which currently makes a contribution of what? 70,000 because the two idle aeroplanes are not technically suitable for the route. Should NK Fly still accept the offer? So now, there is a flight that actually gives 70,000 contribution, since they think that the other one, the one that is idle, cannot handle this particular offer. Now, when we calculated the first one, contribution for the first one, we had was 65,000, right, as contribution. Now, the new listing that we are going to use for this particular offer, we are going to lose a contribution of lost contribution or opportunity cost or something of 70,000, because that's what it's offering, right? So where we subtract, we are going to be having a loss of what? 5,000. So decrease in contribution. Now, if your contribution is going to be reduced, will you advise management to take this decision? Hell no, right? So we will advise management not to accept this offer after considering all other relevant qualitative factors, because accepting this offer is going to reduce or decrease their contribution by 5,000, which is not okay, right? So this is it for the first part of the question, I, and I. Now let's look at this part. So this part is also, so I think I'll leave this Kantanka part for you to solve on your own, and then send me the answers in DMs. I will solve the B part of this question. So AO Fruit Processing Limited makes three varieties of fruit juice: Banango, ginger pine, and ora pine, all of which use the same machine available for 50,000 hours. So you see, once you see available, right, then there's a limiting factor for 50,000 hours per period. The company, remember, the limiting factor is only on the machine, right? The company estimates its fixed cost as 300,000 per period. It has provided standard cost of 8 products per bottle and other information relating to a typical operating period as follows. So it has a direct material cost per bottle of 68, 40, and 78. It has other direct labor cost per bottle. You have machine per hour and have assemblers per hour, right? But note that we only have a limiting factor on the machines. So that's where we are going to compute this thing on, and then check the order in which we have to put it, because the limiting factor is only on the machine. So that's what we are going to look at, right? So now we are required to determine the optimal sales mix and the maximum profit of AO Fruit Processing Limited for the period, right? So now, since we've been able to identify our limiting factor, what we have to do is to, like what we just did not long ago, right? We will do the same thing here again. So, all right, so we'll have AO Fruit. Right, so AO Food Enterprise. Now we have Banango, we have ginger pine, And we have Oropine. Right, so we having them. Now, let's deal with their contribution, right? So here, you can see that the selling price is here, and then the variable costs are up here as well. So let's find the contribution for each of them. So contribution for this one is going to be 200 minus 36 minus 48 minus 68, right? And we are going to get a contribution of 48 here to 158 minus 42 minus 42 minus 32 minus 40, and we are going to get a contribution of 44. Now the next part here is this, and we are going to get 225 minus 42 minus 56 minus 17. You are going to get a contribution of 49. Right? Remember, contribution is the selling price minus all variable costs. Direct material per bottle is a variable cost. Direct labor per bottle is a variable cost, right? So we'll be getting contribution here as this. Now let's put the contributions here. So we are going to get, as usual, 48, 44. Oh, why is this happening? 49. Now, that's our contribution. Now, we have some machine hours for bottles available there, right? Now, the question is saying that the total cost or the cost, the variable cost per bottle for Banango is what? 48. And then the cost per bottle, the cost per hour is 8 cedis. So if we want to get the total hours used, we have to divide the 48 by 8, right? So now what you are going to do is machine hours per bottle, right? So machine hours per bottle will be created here. Machine hours per bottle, right? Now, the first part here is saying what? 48. And then the machine this thing per hour is what? 8 CD. So when we divide 48 by 8, we are going to get 6, right? And then you put it there. So here is 6. Here is going 32 divided by 8. We are going to get 4. And then here is going to be 56 divided by 8. And we are going to get 7. Because you're using only the machine. You're using only the machine. So we have 6, we have 4, and we have 7. Right. Now, for us to know the order rate we have to produce, now we have to find what the contribution per machine are to know our sales mix or the order of production, right? So contribution per machine please try solving other questions as well, okay? So this first part, for example, is going to be what? 48 divided by 6. we are going to get 8 here. That's the contribution per machine. This one is going to be 44 divided by 4. And we are going to get 11 here. And this side is going to be 49 divided by 7. And we are going to get 7. So this clearly says that we are going to produce ginger pine first, then banango second, then ora pine third, right? So that is it for that side. So now let's move on to the units to produce, right? The unit to produce here is, looking at it, how many? You want what? 5,000 units of ora pine, 2,500 units of bottles of ginger pine, and then 3,000 bottles of banango, right? So that's what we have to keep in mind. Note that we are supposed to what? Produce from ginger pine to banango and then to ora pine, right? So ora pine is what we are going to produce last. So for banango, we will be able to produce, or which is 2,500. So 2,500. Now the total machine hours is going to be, when we cross-check this thing, right? And then multiply 2,500 times the machine hours that we solved up here, right? So when we multiply the machine times the machine hours we solved up here, we are going to get 10,000, meaning that we are going to use for 10,000 hours out of the 50,000 limiting factor. So we'll be left with what? 40,000. You have to keep it down as well. Now we have to produce oropine, right? And oropine, they want a Missy Banango. And Banango, they want what? 3,000. Now, since they want 3,000, we can also multiply each unit by the machine hours per bottle we have up here, right? So 3,000 times 6, and we are going to get 18,000. So 18,000 plus the 10,000 we used the other time, it will be left with what? Sorry, 18,000 plus 10,000 will be what? 28,000. And remember that the total machine hours is what? 50,000 hours. So when we subtract, we are going to get what? 22. So this is what we are going to use for the banango. Mind you, banango has what? 7 machine hours per bottle. So we have to divide it by that 7 and then get this thing for banango, right? So now 22,000 divided by 7, we are going to get 3142.85, right? So let's just assume that we run it to the nearest whole number, right? When we run it to the nearest whole number, we are going to get what? 3143. And that is what we are going to produce for this one as well, right? So that is it for this one. So this is the optimal mix. This is the mix that we are supposed to produce to get our maximum profit. Now, if you want to get a contribution, you can do from here, total contribution. Now you are going to multiply them by the contribution, right? So the contribution for banango is 48. So 3,000 times 48 we are going to get 144,000. Now, the total contribution for this as well is going to be 2,500 times 44, which is the 44 contribution. 1, right? And then now, for what's the name? Pine, right? It's going to be 3143 times 49, which is 154,007. That's the total contribution. Now let's look at the question. The question is saying that we should determine the sales mix and the maximum profit of processing for the period, right? So now you have to add all this total contribution and then subtract them. So now our total contribution is going to be 144,000 plus 110,000 plus 154,007. And we are going to get 408,007. Right. Now we have a fixed cost in here, which is what? 300,000 for the period, right? So we subtract it from it. And then our profit for the period is going to be 108,007. And this is what's going to be our profit for the period. See, relevant cost is not difficult, but it involves critical thinking, right? You have to know all these, even though they are not difficult, but they will take much of your time. You have to know all this and then make decision, right? So now the question is saying, so we've given them this thing, the processing, the optimal mix, and so you told them that the optimal mix to be produced for the period is 3,000 banango, 2,500 ginger pine, and then 3,143 ora pine, right? And then the profit for the period. And then the C is saying that you should explain the reasons for under and over absorption. So under and over absorptions occur. So under absorption occurs when actual overhead incurred are more than or are higher than the overhead absorbed, right? And then over absorption occur when the actual overhead incurred are less than the overhead absorbed for the period. So basically, that is it for this video. And the documents used in this video will be posted on the Telegram channel as well. See you some other time. Okay, see you some other time. Thanks for your time. Bye.